Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we're going to be sitting down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. It is Sam Raimi week. So we're jumping back to 1985, Vince covering Crimewave. Then in 1990, a film called Darkman. In 1995, The Quick and the Dead. And we're heading to the theaters for newly released Send Help. Again, all these films directed by Sam Raimi. So let's get Vincent Daly in the room, hear what he has to say about these films. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how are we doing across the table, my friend?
Thomas, how's it going?
It's going okay with me. This is week 2 with new movies in 2026.
Yeah.
How was your week?
It was a wild week. If we were on camera, we would do a snap zoom into each other's faces. It was, a Sam Raimi-ass week. I mean,
Sam Raimi, you have rep Sam Raimi. You've been a Sam Raimi. He's been a Sam Raimi guy.
A little bit.
And now you're having second thoughts, getting cold feet on the boy.
Well, the thing is, I think between maybe my disconnect with the original Evil Dead run, and just looking at the website, some overall low scores. Like Spider-Man 3 has a 19%.
Spider-Man 3, though.
Yeah,
Is that so bad it's good, by the way, or no?
I don't know. It probably is just for that dance sequence. Yeah. When Toby says, dig on this. Wild, skin crawling.
I forgot how far back this guy's career goes.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Raimi, yeah.
Absolutely. And we did the original Evil Dead on the podcast, kind of piecemeal. I just watched that throughout the week.
Early on, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess I just wanted to give some coverage to Sam Raimi because he has such a style. I mean, it's his style now. I feel like maybe when he was going through these early films especially, we could have had a point that, maybe other indie filmmakers were trying to do his type of style, but, now he's the only one left and still doing a wild camera tricks, zoom-ins,
Even I noticed that.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched a couple from him. I watched 2 from him this week. And even I was picking up on... I'm not a Raimi guy.
Right.
I'm not an anti-Raimi guy, but it's just how it is. Even I was picking up on stuff where...
He's wild.
And getting through Send Help, I was like, it's a Sam Raimi-ism here. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely pick up on stuff.
I'll say it in that review, too. It's just there's a moment in Send Help where it's it feels like Sam Raimi is living up to the expectation of himself, of the expectation of his own movies.
Well, in that's kind of praise for the film. That's kind of that's something to say about it.
Absolutely.
But, I will say, critic-wise, people are, not that they're freaking out about Send Help, it almost seems like everybody is at least best film since Drag Me to Hell. Best film in 25 years since his 1990s films. People seem to be enjoying this, January release, Send Help, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely. I don't know if this week is exactly helping his batting average on the site, but there really, is not much left to cover from him. We did the original Evil Dead run. We've done gems like, Drag Me to Hell.
Yep.
But, honestly, what I'll say, folks, is that if Raimi is for you, if his style is up your alley, then, whether that's discovered through the camp in the Tobey Spider-Man films or the insanity of Evil Dead, I think you just might find one to add to your list this week if you haven't watched it, even though, again, the week's batting average was not great. And our first 2 ones that you didn't watch, I mean, there's moments, Tom, that I'm glad that when you don't watch movies.
I had a feeling. Let's just say that. I had a feeling.
It's like when you surprised me with that Tetsuo the Iron Man, that weird Japanese horror. I was like, oh no, that's not the one.
The podcast is gonna go away.
Yeah, right. He's done with movies after this period.
Okay, well, you want to do that right? I mean, you opening notes or jump back to...
No, that's about it.
Okay, 1985. This is Crimewave. I mean, I haven't heard of these first two films, to be honest about it.
Sure.
But I want you to get into it. Tell us who's involved with Crimewave.
Yes. So I think the biggest surprise for me this week was discovering just like how closely Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers existed within the film industry and like literally in real life. Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers have been friends since the early 80s, for a time even living together alongside Frances McDormand.
Wow. Boy, she's a trooper.
Right. And then Frances McDormand is in Darkman.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's kind of the pal around environment that this movie, Crimewave, was born in. You can also find each other in the producer credits of a lot of their films, all belonging to that wave of early indie filmmakers on the scene, or at least, post-70s type of filmmakers. While it's rumored that the Coen brothers did multiple rewrites over the course of Raimi's projects on the years, they are fully credited with writing this movie and mind-bogglingly writing this in between their debut Blood Simple and their classic Raising Arizona. Like, why this was in between those like excellent movies in comparison to this movie, excellent movies, period, is mind-bogglingly, like I said. My shock really does come from just the usual expected high bar of the Coen brothers, and that they bring, contrasted with this movie being rated exceptionally poorly, like really disastrously poor. It's funny, one of our recent producers, Nick the Rat, tweeted at us about the original dive into the Evil Dead trilogy that we did on the podcast. And I was kind of reflecting on my thoughts about those films while watching this, and I think in a lot of ways I just did not get them at the time, or maybe at least didn't have the balls to say like I couldn't get out of my way of my own preferences for horror in watching those movies and trying to appreciate them.
You were very honest on that episode.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. Right?
Yeah, that's like early, first year. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, early podcast.
Yeah.
But you definitely had feelings of it.
Yeah.
You didn't back down either.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really not. Certainly not without a rewatch, but... I kind of just don't dig those movies, and they're really beloved. But in every single possible way, this movie sits in that exact same campiness of those original Evil Dead movies, just without the horror to cement it as a cult classic. And I think that's where Crimewave gets left in the dust. Crimewave is a very slapstick, very cartoonish crime comedy that... it's probably the best example of calling something a farce I've ever seen. I don't really use that word at all, but it's really, I don't know how else to describe it. It also reminded me a lot of when we covered the Zucker and Abrams comedy study, where the comedy just tries to beat you into submission, this time just without a clear target of what it's parodying. I'll be honest, it took me a second to even understand what this story was. Like, I was watching this, maybe even, close to an hour in, Tom.
By the way, an hour.
I'm telling you.
The movie is an hour and 26 minutes long.
Right. That's how nonsensical it is. But yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. We open with a scheduled execution of a man framed for a crime, only to flashback for the majority of the film of an unfolding ensemble backstory. The story is sparked by a man who hires two hitmen to kill his business partner, but ends up unleashing chaos on the streets when they turn out to be utter psychos, let loose on a killing spree, or should I say crime wave. Almost everyone on the city block gets tangled up in their crimes, but mostly a hopeless virgin, played by a super young Reed Birney, trying to date a girl way out of his league and outdone by the charms of Raimi's personal favorite actor, Bruce Campbell. But Reed isn't going to let his chance at true love slip by, even if it means risking his life confronting the two most insane killers let loose on the streets. Folks, I was kind of really rooting for this one. I see a bad score on Metacritic. I see a bad score online in general. I salivate.
Yeah, you want to be the contrarian.
I want to say, no, this is actually good. No, it's actually pretty bad. Unfortunately, I just didn't really find anything to be funny in this, and sometimes even questioning if something was meant to be a joke at all. While Raimi and the Coens were on their couch at home, maybe drunk, maybe high. This could have been funny in a vacuum. That's why I feel like there's like some palling around on the idea,
Right,
but it somehow made it to be a full movie. I just did not dig some of the zaniness, and the same zaniness again in those early Evil Deads that is just here. Just that stupidity is tenfold. It's meant to be stupid. A lot of this is in the vein of like Three Stooges style slapstick. I mean, they literally do the Scooby-Doo gag where they're running through the hallway and all the doors. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like they like unironically do that, and it's like, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure Scooby-Doo was out already, you know. I'll say maybe, you know, it kind of got a chuckle from me. There's a running gag of just people getting run over by cars constantly. It kind of sort of made me laugh.
Okay.
Most of the time, this shit felt like a straight up fever dream. And I'd maybe say this could work if placed in an actual cartoon. You know, think Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you know, where there's a suspension of reality a little bit, but without that suspension of reality, it was almost always way too much. Like, just way too much. Now, I would say if you do love Sam Raimi's style in the first 3 Evil Dead movies especially, there might be something here for you. It's that exact fever dream aspect that makes a lot of scenes inventive through the trademarks of our director. The amount of snap zooms, instant replays, and just like the sheer amount of close-ups of women screaming. I don't know why that is a Sam Raimi trademark, but like women screaming is a trademark.
I wasn't picking up on that, but even just in The Quick and the Dead and Send Help, I can already think of a couple scenes.
Yeah, exactly. He just loves, you know, zooming in on their mouth screaming. This really like condenses all of those qualities that fans of Raimi really adore. All of his trademarks are here, and it's where, I guess, you know, again, this is not getting a great score, but there is some enjoyment in style and style alone, if only because the experience just doesn't follow a single conventional rule. And hey, Bruce Campbell's inclusion alone might be enough for, you know, those diehard Raimi fans to check it out.
Yep.
Is it good? No, not even close. Is it unwatchable? Yeah, kind of unwatchable. I think it was a big swing for Raimi at his time in his career, and maybe works for his diehard fans, but that unfortunately it just doesn't land it on the positive side of the ratings. We're going to go ahead and give Crimewave 1985 a 25.
A 25%. Okay, yeah. Is what it is. And the funny thing is it's nowhere really near his first film. You know?
Right.
I mean, he's made a lot of stuff before this.
Yeah.
They can't even be like, oh, it's just proto. It's his first. This is his pie, you know, like from Darren Aronofsky or something like that.
Right.
It's like, no, he's in the game for a little while.
He's got at least one Evil Dead under his belt. You know, it's
Crimewave with a 25%. For all those interested, go ahead and check it out on MGM Plus or Tubi.
I would also say, like, where this is a slight recommend for diehard Raimi fans, this is like a steer clear for Coen Brothers fans, because it's like, you don't want to see what they were thinking here. Like, again, I could not wrap my head around like what the story was for like a solid hour.
I don't know if I'm that shocked with them though.
Yeah?
You get the 3 of them together.
Right.
You're right, having a couple drinks.
Right.
Can you imagine with us getting together? A couple drinks trying to write something?
What movie would we make? Yeah.
Okay, 25% for Crimewave. Let's move on. 5 years, 1990 now.
Yes.
A film called Darkman. And these first 2 I was really kind of in the dark about.
Yeah.
And also just because I'm not a Raimi fanboy or anything like that.
Sure.
But why don't you set it up? Let's see how this fared. Darkman.
Well, I've been wanting to check out Darkman for a while. This is a proto-superhero film done by Sam Raimi that mixes horror and the beginnings of the comic book movie genre that really exploded on the scene post-Batman 89. You see a lot of that. You see the influence of Batman 89 almost in every ounce of this movie, from the Danny Elfman score to...
Yeah.
A brooding hero, and most of all, in the breadcrumbs that will lead up to the Tobey Spider-Man movies, the camp, the intentional camp to the Tobey Spider-Man movies.
One thing I didn't realize was how Danny Elfman also big with Raimi.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, I mean, what's wild with Elfman is, like, I always thought he was neck and neck with Tim Burton only, but, like, he's all over the map. He's all over the map these days, even. I feel like he just did a collab with, like, a rapper.
He works a ton.
Yeah.
He does work a ton.
Yeah. So, again, Elfman's a creepy looking guy. Yeah. And also, like, you may not dig, like, his musical background, no less like his scores sometimes are like very formulaic. I feel like we talk about this sometimes with composers, and Elfman is probably pretty guilty of that.
Do you think? I would. But also, he can surprise me because sometimes if I'm put on a movie on the site and I'm just like, whoa, he did this as well. Then he did this. So this is our second week in a row that we have an Elfman.
Oh, right.
Because Elfman did not Trigger Point.
Oh yeah.
What the hell is it called?
Trigger Point is a great alternate title, like Russian knockoff title. Dead Man's Wire.
Right, Dead Man's Wire. Like, he did the music for that.
Yeah.
And then this. So he has a range.
Yeah.
But I think he can also get into grooves where, of course he works with this. Of course he's in Darkman.
Absolutely, yeah. And it really just sound like Batman 89 soundtrack.
Oh, is that right?
Like 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. He's just like, all right, let's copy this over. Interestingly, though, Darkman, and where my interest to cover this was created in response to Raimi wanting to helm the Shadow, another pulp comic book character that later was greenlit in 1994, starring Alec Baldwin. Unlike those wave of early pulp superhero movies, though, this was completely original and not based on any comic, instead really coming from Raimi's own passion for the medium and where my interest was sparked, because it's like, those early comic book movies, The Shadow, Dick Tracy, The Spirit, The Phantom, I always scratch my head at those movies because it's like, who really wanted those, even among comic book fans? And it was really an older generation than what we consider comic book fans.
Right, yeah.
Raimi was passionate enough that he wanted to, adapt The Shadow, and instead we got Darkman. Darkman being one of the, again, few comic book movies without a source comic, it still really nails down the superhero formula before Raimi even had a genre to riff on, no less be one of its revolutionaries. Liam Neeson plays a genetic scientist developing a new synthetic skin when he gets tangled in some mobster's scheme, strong-arming a real estate deal. Left for dead in the burning wreckage, he is disfigured but empowered. A brilliant mind turned insane and now seeks revenge using his scientific breakthroughs to stalk and assume the identities of his murderers. The biggest challenge will be stepping back into his own shoes to take back the life he lost and win back the love played by Frances McDormand, the rage within him overtaking the man, leaving only darkness. This is another one where it's like, I wish I could praise this. Sadly, I can't praise this too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
First of all, I love that Liam Neeson is in it.
Yeah, super early.
And the main guy, the Darkman character, he just completely reminds me of Rorschach.
Oh, yeah.
From The Watchmen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In the sense Rorschach is, kind of an allegory of Batman,
Yeah.
But like brooding, sad superhero,
right? And I don't know. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised because I feel like if it is relatively good, I would have heard about it by now. There is that whole aspect of this, you know what I mean? Yeah. But anything like performances, no? Writing all over the place?
No. It is more functional than Crimewave.
I'm sure it is, but...
right. But it's just, I don't know. I maybe would be a little bit more hot on it if we paired it with those other like kind of oddball superhero flicks, but... I thought this is pretty damn bad, as far as like old superhero movies go, which we've covered a lot of now.
Yes, we have. Well, briefly back to like in the '94, we covered the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
like that.
Absolutely. And over the course of the podcast, we've commented how important Batman 89 is, an epoch, a turning point for the comic book genre, especially when we've covered old stuff like Superman and, those
horrible Captain Americas. You're right. It changed the game.
Yeah. So
much like Dark Knight. Kind of changed the game.
Yep. And almost the chasing, they just want another Dark Knight, I personally was hoping to appreciate the building blocks in that way, again, especially leading up to the Tobey Spider-Man trilogy. And while there's a handful of aspects that surprised me how much they felt like a modern superhero movie, and unfortunately just did not make this good. I had a serious kind of sit down with my own thoughts where I was just like, even if I praise this in like a historical kind of way, it's not watching in the modern day. You know what I mean? It's
right. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. On some of that crumbs to appreciate, Darkman's origins do feel closer to like the tragedy of a Universal monster movie, specifically riffing on 1933's The Invisible Man for some reason, in addition getting the powers, he also becomes crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird that like that used to be a thing of like you get superpowers and you also go insane. Like it's just like I don't understand why this was a factor in these movies. And if anything, I put this closer to something like The Crow or Spawn later in the decade for how it makes the leading hero more of an anti-hero willing to sink to the level of our villains.
Yeah, guy with an attitude.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Some bad boy energy. The real interesting to spot, though, is all those early 90s digital effects and how they kind of fit into the emerging scene. When Darkman has flashes of insanity or struggles with his powers internally, you get a lot of stylized filters, a lot of tricks spliced into the edit. Not only does this have Raimi painted all over it, it also feels like a stride in communicating how superpowers feel on screen rather than just showing them externally. It might sound like an odd comparison, but you look at how these scenes look, and I'd actually point to the fuel injection shots of like early Fast and Furious movies, you know. It is a rare
You're a
day.
novice. Yeah, I mean, not novice. No, that's not the right word.
No, I'm an expert.
Yeah, you're an expert.
I'm an expert on those Fast movies. It's a rare day when I'm positively, in any sense, bringing up the Fast and Furious movies. But, listen, folks, these shots, are they great? Not exactly, but it is something new being done and helps kind of blaze a trail for the style. Beyond that, though, there just wasn't a lot to enjoy here. I hate to say it. The villains were idiotic, but without the fun camp to make them stand out, like Darkman's more campy than the villains, which is like, that seems like a misstep.
Right.
There's some really lame action here, especially in the finale, which upsettingly reminded me of Spider-Man 3. It's like in the framework of a building. And, I mean, just to kind of illustrate like where things don't click, despite it being an early trailblazer, the movie is called Darkman. The amount of fight scenes that happen in broad daylight is just ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? It's something that Burton never messed up with Batman.
Right.
So it's just like, man, it's tough. Regardless of the tread setting, most of these digital effects, even by 1990 standards, look pretty bad. And stylistically are probably among the weaker of what Raimi has pulled off in the decade. Like I said, I think this could have had a much better shake if we put it side by side in an episode covering things like The Phantom, Dick Tracy, Rocketeer. But even so, was not hitting for me. We're going to go ahead and give Darkman 1990 a 31.
Okay. 31% for Darkman. Yeah, watch or beware. I would say, if you're a Raimi guy, you're a Raimi guy.
This is definitely a cult Raimi hit. People really rep this movie.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Because everyone was excited for it.
Any superhero-ish film or subset of that has its love.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Has its fans.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, let's just jump 5 years in advance.
Sure.
Now we're getting to the content that I've watched this week. This is The Quick and the Dead and star-studded. I mean...
Star-studded.
I don't know how Raimi has so much pull by the mid-90s.
Right.
But Gene Hackman, a young Leo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe.
Young Russell Crowe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, pre-LA Confidential and everything.
Sharon Stone, who's just like, is Sharon Stone.
Right,
in
right.
the 90s.
Her prime, yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Hello. And then the elder statesman in Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? And
absolutely.
then throw in a little Gary Sinise in his prime, actually.
Yeah.
So, okay, The Quick and the Dead. Western, rated R, hour and 48 minutes. You set it up. We'll take it back and forth.
Yeah, well, it's one seriously stylish Western, absolutely bursting with a recognizable 90s cast that just shows, like you've just commented on, Tom, how Sam Raimi evolved to a different league in a few short years. Frankly speaking, out of an indie filmmaker. He became, fully part of the biz. This was also something I could have sworn was rated already on the website.
This went through some type of crack.
Yeah,
because while Vin and I were sitting down on the couch days and starting to catalog movies and his scores, You purposely sought this out and watched it.
Yeah.
Probably right before we started the actual podcast.
Yeah. I remember because it was somewhere in the time that we tackled the Fistful of Dollars trilogy. We were tackling Westerns together.
And I don't know how this fell through.
Yeah.
It sounds like my mistake. It sounds like I typed it in wrong or something.
That's not why I'm bringing it up. There are little weird holes in my memory
There's
of
one,
it, though.
Okay. There's one movie that I really messed up on. There's one movie.
This is confessional hour.
Yeah, well, it's just... We used to be on this Word document that I started years ago. That's back when we used to call it Vince's Garden.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Instead of the daily rating.
Right.
And there's a movie out there, folks, that has an 83%. Like, Vin was over the moon about it, gave it an 83%, which you know how big that is. Not a single film in 2025 got an 83%. But the problem is I was dealing with a 3-column page, and so I tried to keep all the wording brief, or I tried to have just like code names for things within the title of the films. I labeled a film Bloody Mattress.
Bloody Mattress.
That's what I named the film.
Can't find Bloody Mattress.
83%. That's when Vin called me, because as we were doing the site and setting it up and transferred it to a proper Sheets
right.
or Excel document, Vin goes, there's just one I don't understand. He goes, there's one that's called Bloody Mattress. He goes, I Googled every kind of variant. He goes, I don't remember anything. And I was like, it's got to be a scene. Like, can you think about a scene with the Bloody Mattress? And you're like, listen, I got
nothing. And it's got an 83, no less.
83.
I wish I could watch it again.
Huge mistake on my part. Anyway, but this one fell through the cracks for sure, quicker than
That's
dead.
Great, yeah. And I think originally I saw it off a recommendation that it felt somewhat like a live-action anime Western for how stylized it was, and I still think that's still kind of right on the money. I forgot who recommended to me in that context, but I remember that recommendation. I would say if you dig 90s anime classics like Trigun or any kind of shonen that focuses on colorful villains, there's a good chance this will hit for you. But that same reason, I think this movie has a bit of a bad reputation from fans of the Western genre, as it's just way too cartoony for any historically accurate taste there. Would you say the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
It's on the whole end of the different spectrum,
Yeah, it's not taking itself seriously, and yet it's trying to be serious. And I often, as I was watching the film, and there's at one point it gets kind of heavy, and it's just, oh, shit, okay, this is what's happening to this character.
Right.
But my biggest thing was, this is serious content, but the director is taking it not seriously.
Yep.
And what do I do with this?
And I think
what
I do laugh at that scene. I do. That scene is kind of funny,
Right, because, I've been saying a lot, I don't want to be a broken record, but the whole, earnedness, you're not earning this, because there's just an over-the-topness to it that makes it a goofiness to it.
Exactly.
And I'm going to bring that same thing up with Send Help, actually.
Oh, sure.
Later,
and I think that's the rainy flavor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Absolutely.
If you know them, you know. If you like them, you like them.
Yep.
But also, when you do something like a Western with kind of a serious premise,
sure,
it's like, all right, I want to take you seriously, but if you're not taking yourself seriously, what am I doing here?
Right.
A little bit.
Exactly. Now, no doubt the key to its blown-out style is expected from our director, but an uncredited script doctor, I think, is a little bit more central to the movie's tone and where this almost fits like an anime or having that type of rhythm to it. It's perhaps the most famous script doctor there ever was. Josh Whedon had played a role in this. So I think
that's not
that's
surprising at all.
I think this is in the proto days of Whedon. This is pre-Firefly.
Just for those who don't know, Whedon
sure,
started on Star Trek, correct?
No. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was
okay.
his baby. Firefly, a great, kind of diamond in the rough sci-fi gem.
Yep.
Went on to eventually be part of the MCU for the first Avengers. Kind of ruined his own reputation within the MCU for Age of Ultron, and absolutely destroyed his reputation in the remake of the Justice League. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Josh Whedon also is a dicey person. He's been soft canceled for years. He's kind of just generally creepy. If to talk about late 90s film and TV, Josh Whedon is in every conversation. And I feel like he's in every conversation when we get to the 2010s, because what did the first Avengers do? Change how we heard the dialogue in any kind of superhero movie. It was all the Whedon pluckiness.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's him. That's him.
This is 95.
That goes back to Buffy, but
what year did Buffy start? I mean,
I want to say maybe 99, 98.
Okay, so this is 95.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Right. And this is in
Whedon.
his days. I mean, he does that for a while, but his entire career. But Whedon is often tapped on the shoulder and be like, hey, we need to buff this up. He's a script doctor.
He's a classic. And there's many of those.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like he's the most notable, if only for like his flavor of dialogue.
Right,
you know?
yeah. Well, you know that, I don't know why this pops into mind, because we never talked about this. You know that Paul Thomas Anderson apparently was a script doctor for Oppenheimer.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently that's like a for sure thing.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's definitely pays off. I'm not saying I really necessarily had a problem, but like I think that's a great pick if anyone to bump up the script. The Quick and the Dead, though, is a Western with a dead simple setup, allowing for the many caricatures of the genre, the many characters of the Wild West to be crammed into a single movie. From what I can tell, also, it has no relation to a Sam Elliott movie with the exact same name that came out a few years before in 1987. Not that anyone really cared about a Sam Elliott movie.
Yeah,
but
good catch. But if you're on Amazon, just make sure which one you're clicking on.
Exactly. It's like the same exact title. Wandering out of the Dust Bowl is the unexpected cowgirl slinger known only as the Lady, played by Sharon Stone. She arrives at a town simply called Redemption with the goal of gunning down its tyrannical mayor, played by Gene Hackman. And the town is a lantern for the many personalities of the West, attracted to danger and infamy, eager to prove themselves as the best. And the mayor invites this chaos, however, to the town, in his words, preferring to have his opposition dead out in the street rather than stabbing him in the back. A dueling competition brings these gunfighters to a head, and the rules are simple. If you sign up, you can be challenged at any time and compete in a bracket-style game of elimination. The competition serves as a means for the Lady to get close to her prey, but gets tangled in the town's dealings, most of all with a desperado turned preacher played by Russell Crowe. Folks, we got a lot of actors. This is so many actors.
It's crazy.
A condensed soup stock of 90s actors.
Maybe super smart. Let's be honest. Leo is like fifth in this film.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he's still super young. And Russell Crowe's so young. So maybe they weren't big pulls maybe at the time.
Yeah.
We look at it differently now. But I mean, Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman for sure.
Yes. And in some of my research, Sharon Stone actually had a much larger producing role that she like paid Leo's salary. She like plucked Leo specifically for this.
Okay. See, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Leo in 95, he's around. I think
this is like his third movie.
I mean, What's Even Gilbert Grape, I think, is 93, 94.
Right.
You know, so he is an actor, but he's not the Leo we know.
Exactly.
But still.
But, I mean, down the list, right in the prime of Sharon Stone, 1995, this came out, the same year as Casino.
Yeah.
I mean, wild.
Well,
Even if you don't love Casino among the Scorsese, alumni films, it's like she is that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
even arguably with De Niro. Stone, like I said, she had a big role in the production on this. She also plucked Russell Crowe in the same way. She was like, no, this is the guy. I don't know. I guess. Kind of was curious, like, what happened to her. I guess she had a stroke in like 2001 or something like that. But it's like, where is Stone now?
It's been a question. It has been a question.
Yeah. Keystone Cutie, too.
No. Oh, that's right. Yeah. She's a little south of Erie, Pennsylvania. Which for us is Western Pennsylvania.
Right.
Which if you're Eastern Pennsylvania, it is a separate state. Because we're
Right,
separated by the
world.
Appalachian Mountains, kind of.
It's a different world.
It is different. But you're right. Keystone Cutie, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Good catch.
We'll get her on the podcast. That's our first guest segment, is all the Keystone Cuties. That's how we'll get them.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I got to correct myself on something.
What?
PTA was a script doctor on Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh.
Not Oppenheimer.
Oh, interesting.
So my bad. But still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Big property.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We get a super young Leo DiCaprio playing a kind of a hotshot Billy the Kid type. Again, third role for him. This is coming off he does a Sharon Stone where in 1995 he does a movie called The Basketball Diaries. Kind of an all right film, but like big for Leo. Like to juggle both of these films simultaneously is like, wow, big year. Maybe some lesser known names, but names I was really happy to see. Keith David and Lance Henderson, just two character actors I love to see. Lance is obviously Bishop from the Alien franchise. Keith David is all over the map.
Okay.
Russell Crowe, awesome here. kind of his breakout role. I don't know. I was looking at it. It's like he's in a lot of stuff. He's in a lot of Australian stuff.
No, for sure.
But really big, I would say above everyone is Gene motherfucking Hackman in this. I mean, he is he's chewing the scene.
He is. This might have been the one where the actors get together and talk about how difficult he was on set.
Oh, really?
I forget if it's this movie or another one in the 90s.
Okay.
But, I mean, and Gene Hackman, a little bit known for being rough around the edges at times or difficult on set.
Yep.
Yet everybody still has so much respect for him because he's still Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Favorite part of the movie for me.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down.
Absolutely. He might have just been method acting to his character because his character is like a real prick. And he might have carried that on to, after the camera stopped rolling. I think he just might be key to this whole why this movie I find this enjoyable. It's his inclusion, it's fun, it's hammy in the Raimi style, but he kind of does add some clout to the production. There is some acting that is really nice going on here, and complex of how he interacts with each of these like plucked out of the Wild West characters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just like super enjoyable.
He does strike me as a guy who's so good that I don't know how much he read the script. I don't know how much he cared to be on set. But when
he's just ripping.
But when action was called,
yep.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
He really is.
Absolutely. Here is a plead to our audience, a workshop for you and I, Tom. I need to come up with a new name when a villain makes or saves a movie, because I feel like I've been mentioning it more and more. I love villains, but I feel like we've tackled things where it's like, no, this movie is nothing without this villain.
Right,
so I need a phenomenon. I need a syndrome name.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah, just like super enjoyable. I mean, I would say you're even more of a Gene Hackman fan than I, but like...
Well, we haven't yet sunk our teeth into Gene Hackman. We have to go on a tear at some point. Mm-hmm. We just didn't have we just couldn't fit it in last year with his death.
Yeah.
Of all of a sudden going this huge Gene Hackman thing. Mm-hmm. But I think we should, instead of doing a director study, forego one of them coming up and throw Gene Hackman in there in the coming years.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
He's done so much.
Yeah.
Now, listen,
we've done some big ones like Conversation, but we didn't do French Connection.
He's got a TDA in his pocket. Tom Daly.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Specialty award.
Specialty
the Employee of the Month.
He still counts. Still counts.
But he is in so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, French Connection was great. Mm-hmm. No. We didn't do French Connection.
Yeah, we did.
I've watched that twice now in the past year.
Wow.
Just for fun,
Just for fun.
But there's a lot. There's a lot over the decades to cover with him.
Yeah.
Not to mention his last performance with Ray Romano. Welcome to Mooseport. Thing that drove him to retirement.
Somehow I knew in my heart it was going to get brought up, but I still was not expecting it.
Okay, anyway. Right. Okay, keep going.
But yeah, I think that's the main hook for this movie. Surprised it didn't do better. 90s audiences really bounced off of it because, again, I think they wanted maybe more of a dramatic or serious.
Unforgiven comes out in, 90, 91?
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? We're still...
Yeah.
Give us something. White Dove, things like that.
Yeah.
I think White Dove is something, but
no, Unforgiven is a great point because it's like that feels like, we're getting a new age of westerns where like they're a little maybe self-aware.
Well, bigger production too.
Yep.
Like it is 90s westerns are going for things for sure. Mm-hmm. And this is just a different type of thing.
Yeah, so it's just having a fun time. Let's talk about how this does stack up as a western, though, which can be summed up as saying it exchanged any ounce of realism for style. I honestly don't know if I'm using this word correctly, but it's a kind of a pastiche. It's a wide brushstroke of everything that a Wild West movie can be, rather than being like a real slice of history. Mm-hmm. Put it on, a much simpler end for my video game fans. This is not your Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. This is that first game, Red Dead Revolver, where it's just like, and we have a desperado character, and we have a gunslinging preacher. It's just like every Wild West possible.
It's over the top.
Yeah. Raimi's quick snap zooms and spinning camera angles, I do think are kind of a dream come true for how the action is presented. I really loved watching this movie, visually. Okay. I feel like it's a great example, though, of how my praise for something, or at least specific to this movie, can be the exact turnoff for someone else. A great example of this is pretty much any explosion in the runtime. I was almost laughing at the movie for how ridiculous the explosions were.
It's over yeah.
But there are some ridiculous explosions. Another great example is like how gunshot wounds send characters flying. It's like they're hit with a metal fist.
And that's that anime-ness.
Yes.
That this person was telling you about.
Yes, absolutely. It's a real give and take. I mean, I feel like I've set up that this movie either really works or really doesn't.
Yeah.
Where do you land on this as a Western fan?
Oh, as a Western fan, listen, this film had me. The only reason why it had me was because the star-studded cast.
Okay.
I wasn't really enjoying the story all that much.
Okay.
Although in different hands and more serious, it works. No matter what, it's a smaller Western because we're really just in this one town on this one strip.
Yes.
On Main Street.
A single competition even.
It's really it. You know what I mean? And so even with that, I can only love it so much. It's just it's too silly, it's too goofy. But the thing that kept me in the seat is just like, would you look at this cast?
Yeah.
Even though I love Gene Hackman was great in it. I thought second best honestly was Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Because Leo is still, you can see all the Leo-isms going on. Like you really can.
Yeah.
But he's still a little bit too young yet.
Yeah,
so I can't take him serious with that. Sharon Stone, I thought her character was a little bit like, okay. Listen, she's Sharon Stone. There's one scene she's getting out of bed and I'm just like, Jesus. Oh my
she's
God.
Sharon
Stone, are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
But even her character, I really didn't love, and the female protagonist. Like, if I want to watch a Western with a female protagonist, I'm going True Grit all the way.
Sure,
and I'll watch that 100 times before I kind of need to return to this.
Yeah, both from that perspective, the old one and the new one.
Right. So I really didn't like the movie all that much. But am I going to sit there and watch this cast and be like, well, look at this cast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess my question more so is like, you do answer it in the sense that the Western stylings aren't working for you, but I guess what stands out to me is like, I don't know, someone like really the guns. I'm like, as like for a gun fanatic, the amount of glamour shots of revolvers and pistols from the era. Like the movie has a obsession with just any iconic pistol of that era. They throw it on screen.
I know. There's just a cheesiness to it.
Yeah.
Where it I don't know. I can't get all that excited about it.
Okay, fair.
And I get there's a showcasing, but I don't want to be showcased. I just want to watch a Western. That's my appeal of older John Wayne Westerns. Where it's like, just give me it raw. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
And this one just has too much style.
Yeah, true.
But that's
true.
Raimi.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even on that note of like, I loved that, like, Leo DiCaprio, he runs the gun shop, and he has, like, all these, like, legendary pistols. Like, the one, like, Cold Action Army is, like, has a silver handle.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. But, like, on the historically accurate piece or inaccuracy piece, the movie is just a blended smoothie of like Wild West, like why would Leo have all these pistols and he's a child in this town run by like a gangster, you know what I mean? Like
the whole thing's silly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't take it seriously.
Right.
Even though the story's trying to get serious at times.
At times. But I think that's just, again, that's a perfect example, not only for this movie, but just like Raimi movies as a whole. Sometimes it just clicks enough. Yeah, I feel like he's always making big swings in the way that he does.
No doubt.
But it's like, where does this click for you? And I think, again, where we open the episode with is like, this... I feel like Raimi's filmography is like, you have to kind of give them a shake for yourself to see if they're for you, even from movie to movie.
Very true.
Just his whole career. So this movie for me, though, is enjoyable, and how I enjoy something like Pacific Rim or Speed Racer or like any anime tournament arc, you can call it cartoonish or anime inspired. Maybe you can even throw out like a word like love letter as part of the praise, but this type of heightened reality is what I love in certain kinds of movies. And I think, again, it's where the sprinklings of Joss Whedon come into play that help it land somewhat satisfying rather than bounce off. Bottom line, I enjoy when there is a clear structure for action to unfold on screen. I've talked about this plenty of times with action movies. And for a genre of film that always seems to boil down to one specific type of scene, this movie is structured around one thing: duels at high noon. We're going to go ahead and give The Quick and the Dead 1995 a 66.
Wow, 66% is pretty high score.
Yeah, I think I couldn't knock it any higher. I'm looking at other Raimi scores on the site. Like I said, his batting average is not great. But I wanted to maybe pump this a little higher. I can. I recognize both qualities of like where it's gonna lose an actual Western fan, and that's its intended.
I'm already surprised at 66. I think 66 is on the high end.
You're trying
even I'm surprised it even reached that high for you.
Right.
So I mean. Again, I didn't hate the film. I like the performances. I like seeing these people on screen. That's all. That's much praise I could throw at it. Gene Hackman was great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I guess even with the main character, Sharon Stone, I actually thought it was lacking, to be honest about it.
Okay.
But, Sharon Stone, sure, we'll watch.
Sure.
But, okay, so The Quick and the Dead, 66%, Finn. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our producer thanks segment, because we do have a producer to thank for today. Even though he donated in last week, we got Matt D.
He's back again.
He's giving you a movie ticket this week.
The Madman.
He wrote in because he wanted to talk about the issue that you arised last week, which is wanting to maybe alter 28 years later film. You gave it a 35. You want to bump it up for a 45 because after watching 28 years later, The Bone Temple, things start to make sense a little bit, or things are more okay with that first film.
Yep.
And I was giving pushback on it and said, people, if you want to get in touch, whatever, let us know. You know what I mean?
I'm glad I posted it because, again, I was kind of split on it, so I wanted to throw it out there.
Well, so we did. And Matt, you didn't have to donate, Matt, but we're certainly, we're not going to give the donation back. We certainly appreciate it. But he did give his 2 cents on it. So Matt D writes, he goes, I wasn't going to touch on this, but since you appealed to the producers, I'm reluctantly chiming in. He goes, we all know how shy I am. I do think the end of 28 Years Later was so odd and jarring that it colored Vinny's original score. And if it were the end of the story arc, I'd agree that the score shouldn't change. Though I see 28 Years as sort of a part 1 instead of the first movie of a trilogy or a duology or whatever. Part 1s by nature don't have endings in the traditional sense. So the movie ends, but it's not a full story arc. Since the part 2 is not just a continuation of the story like a second movie in a trilogy, but a continuation of the arc, it can impact how good or worth it the part 1 is. Just like how the third act of a movie can impact how the first act was. So I do believe the change should be allowed, and in this case, is necessary. Regarding The Bone Temple not being a zombie movie, I haven't seen it yet, but I'll say that it doesn't have to be a zombie movie. It might even be good that it's not. Maybe the greatest aspect of 28 Days Later is that it was genre-bending.
Yeah.
That's why it stays fresh a quarter century after release and stands out among a million zombie flicks. And that's also why 28 Weeks Later is largely forgettable, because it was just a zombie movie.
That's a great observation. I think that also hits on where, like, big fans of the franchise, they're saying Bone Temple is in the conversation of, like, is it better than the original, the very first one?
Oh, you brought that up, yeah. And Matt also, he actually just, as we're recording here, just wrote a little PS in as well. He goes, so not sure if I'm sending this in time for this week, but he has a PS. Even without the part 1 factor, yes, Vinny is fair and consistent, but also human. We've all been there where we weren't in the mood for a particular movie for whatever reason, and we don't like it or get it on the first watch, but then we do on a second. So he should reserve the right to correct his score when he thinks it needs correcting.
Okay, all right.
Which, I'm okay.
Tom is still...
That's a slight against me, I think. Because I'm the one really pushing back on it. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I can't get past the fact, though, that people are going to... If people just want to go listen to the podcast on the 28 Years Later, they're going to hear your entire review, and then at the end of it, it's a 35. And then they go on the site or whatever, or we now just treat it as a 45.
Sure, there's some sort of, like, functionality disconnect there. And, yeah, I think... We've talked about it off the mic of just, like, I think there is a degree of, like, I am happy at least making note of it, in the Bone Temple review.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
There is a degree of there just like, I got my thoughts out, at least on it, of how that maybe has evolved a little bit. But
all right, well, I'm down with changing it.
Okay.
Do we do just a 45 asterisk? We don't have to explain the asterisk? We just literally just put it there to be like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah, this inquire
That's what
more
we're doing.
within.
That's what we're doing. I love, by the way, these AI-generated responses via email that they try to pose on you.
Oh, right.
If I respond, can I read
That Gmail's like, it wants you to respond with this.
Yeah, they're trying to do whatever they can. Because I linked 3 different accounts to this just to be as a hub.
Right.
But this is what the response was for Matt if I went with AI. Hey, Matt, totally agree with your take on 28 Years Later ending and how it affects the first part. Makes total sense that it should be allowed to change if the arc is incomplete. Also, you're right about Vinny being human and reserving the right to reevaluate. Good point. Thanks for chiming in. Best, Vincent Daly. It's like,
oh my God.
They signed it off with you too. The one last week was hilarious. After Matt's note, what they wanted to send, it was so fun.
It is so great. I hate the tone of AI. He's just like so like self-reassuring. You know what I mean? It's just like
the worst.
It's the worst. Like enough. Like give me some conflict.
Okay, Matt. Well, your point was well made. He kind of changed me a little bit on it.
I think an interesting conversation in like what he said around like a part 1, part 2 being intentionally like not have an ending. I think there is an interesting concept here with just like cliffhangers in general.
Sure.
Just like where does that fit into like a sizzly cliffhanger just to get more buy-in with it?
I still kind of lay down on the thing of a movie is a movie, and that's the movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole thing of, you don't judge a movie, if after watching part 3 or act 3 of a film, you judge act 1 with it, but that's also just one movie.
Yep.
Now, but still, I'm okay with it. We're bumping to 45. I'm putting an asterisk next to it. I'm all good. You are human.
You are human.
As the AI agrees with. So we're going to keep that. Matt, thank you so much for giving your 2 cents, man. We appreciate it. And we super appreciate the donation.
Absolutely.
Along with it, the movie ticket that you're sending out to Vin. We really appreciate you, man. You've been there since the beginning. And folks at home, this is just a reminder that the Daily Ratings is completely producer supported. We are completely listener supported. We're not taking any advertising money and taking advertising breaks between every single film and talking about products we don't care about. There's no paywalls on the site either, or payment tier structures where we force you to give us a certain amount of money in order to get extra content or to even access our content. We're not doing any of that. That's why we're not doing Patreon where we have specialty shows or anything. Everyone's on their own finances. Everybody's week to week is different, and everybody might be getting a different amount of value from the Daily Ratings than other people. And that's why we're doing it this way. It's the value for value model. Is what Vin and I are doing every week on the podcast valuable? Are you enjoying listening every week? Are you checking out the website and using that? Are you even just more into film than what you were before you started hanging out with us? That's value in your pocket. Can you give us value back in our pocket? It's value for value. So you head on over to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and it's all laid out there for you. We are completely supported through your monetary support. And when you do send in a donation, just like Matt this week when he sent in a movie ticket, you become an actual, legitimate, credited producer of the Daily Ratings. Because just like in Hollywood, when you financially support a project, you're a producer of the project. So that's how we're doing it here. So please stop on by thedailyratings.com. One, just to check it out and look at the site, but also head to the donations tab and please send us a donation in. You can hit the big value for value button, and it's whatever amount of value that you have this week, whether it's a cup of coffee, it's $5, $50, $5,000. You can send in whatever. Again, everyone's on their own finances. Don't forget to send us a producer note because we want to bring you into the conversation and we want to hear what you have to say. Questions, comments, critiques, ask us anything. It could be whatever. So you can email us your note at tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. That's our email address. So you can hit us up there after you send in a donation, and we'll give you the thanks, we'll give you the shout-out, and read the note right here in this segment. We thank all of those who have produced. Matt D., you're an executive producer of episode 224, and anyone out there listening, if you want to be an executive producer for next week's episode, episode 225, again, just head to thedailyratings.com. Okay, Vincent Daly, let's head on into the theaters. We went separately. You saw it Friday. I managed to sneak out Monday evening to go see this.
Nice.
Movie Tavern, but I saw it in the souped-up super screen movie tavern, whatever. Okay. And this is Send Help. So Sam Raimi coming out. This is his first rated R film in 20-plus years, I believe. It's an hour and 53 minutes. We have Rachel McAdams starring, and then alongside Dylan O'Brien.
Yep.
And you take it away, set up the film, and we'll talk about it.
Well, Sam Raimi is back after a brief stint in the MCU, but not exactly returning to an expected project. Leading up to this, I think we've commented plenty about how odd it was that this, of all things, was the project he went for, especially because, like, the premise itself feels like something like M. Night Shyamalan will do. Like there was a degree there was just like, really? Sam Raimi? Like this? But the
Coming
King...
out of January?
Yeah, exactly.
Late February or early February?
But The King of Camp is back in theaters and receiving plenty of hype from audiences new and old as the exaggerated characters of the movie are quickly becoming a crowd pleaser. I feel like if there's a phrase to refer to Send Help is this crowd pleasing aspect. And listen, folks, I really hate to be a rain cloud on a returning director getting so much love, but I just thought this movie was okay. If anything, it was very messy, very complicated, but it does level out at an okay. You know what I mean? There was a lot of ups and downs to it. But
That's very fair.
Yeah, right. I wish I could maybe have, more in either direction of really liking it or really hating it, but I feel like it all kind of balanced out in that okay. So, also, this would-be movie, now knowing that you watch it, I knew you were going to plan on watching it. You were kind of excited for this, or at least you were interested in the hype of like what the hype was about with it.
I wasn't. I mean, no. Wasn't excited. Didn't care about the hype. It was more so just like I appreciate a big film like this is coming out, and I want to go support it, and I might like it. I see. Okay. But after watching this and seeing how much of a rated R Sam Raimi movie it was, I was like, oh, I don't know. Well, this is not a Tom movie. No, but it's not a horror film.
No.
You know what I mean? So I knew I wasn't walking into a horror film, and I'm not a horror guy, so I knew it was probably going to be more thrilling or something like that. I was waiting I was like, I know that these short little trailers or these commercials aren't giving away everything, so what's really going to happen on the island type deal. And so I was cool with the ride. Like, I don't know if I would be a Drag Me to Hell guy.
Oh, okay, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. And these movies, honestly, are pretty side by side. Drag Me to Hell and this, in terms of even like very specific scenes.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. I mean, that was my feeling of it. Yeah, this movie was fine.
Okay.
And I liked it. I really don't need to return to it again. But I can't get over the fact, and maybe it's not right. Again, as I was just saying, judge a movie by a movie, and that's the movie.
Right.
The fact that I just go to a year ago, this time last year, and 2 years ago, what we were getting in February timeframe.
Right.
And again, I kind of appreciate that it's a bit of a swing. It is Sam Raimi, and he's going full-on Sam Raimi at some time.
For sure.
And we've got big actors. It wasn't terrible. It's not really my type of movie. But there's aspects I could appreciate about it.
Okay, cool.
And that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly where it's like this movie has received a lot of praise. People saying that.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
It's I return to this like crowd pleasing aspect of it's some twists and turns. It wants to definitely leave your jaw on the floor.
Was your jaw ever on the floor?
It wasn't shut. I'll tell you that.
All right.
There was some jaw dropping aspects. I don't know. I just didn't expect.
Interesting.
So I think it's just like, and I'll talk about this in a second. There is like it's a good theater watch for audience participation, or not participation. I shouldn't say that. Audience reactions.
My audience, I had reactions in my theater.
Yeah,
I was the most front seat.
Yeah,
I mean, I was dead quiet. I wasn't
sure.
I wasn't surprised at any of it, but
right.
but I had people saying, I had chatter. I had the audience behind me was enjoying it.
Exactly.
And my God.
Yeah. And that's where it's like the hype around this film is pretty huge. And I think, now that we're both kind of on the same page of like, I don't want to be a rain cloud on that. And it was probably something good to watch in theaters versus at home. But it was still just like, okay, I don't need to see that movie again. I probably didn't need to see it the first time. You know what I mean?
Well, and not to mention, once again, I like Rachel McAdams, so I'm happy to watch Rachel McAdams. And I have a soft spot for no real good reason, but for the Dylan O'Brien guy. I don't know why.
Maze Runner fan?
Never seen the Maze Runners. He was in a movie. First of all, I liked what his character that he was doing in the Saturday Night film.
Oh, right. And he was Aykroyd, right?
Yeah, he was Aykroyd.
Yep.
I thought he did a really good Aykroyd.
Uh-huh.
And then he's also in the film American Assassin, which right,
Tom Cruise?
No. Who is Michael Keaton?
Oh,
is also in it, but he's the main character. Dylan O'Brien's the main character.
Okay.
And it's one of those action films or just kind of like spy films that just get thrown under the carpet. There's a lot of those.
Sure.
And I watched it and I was like, this guy's okay. I don't mind this.
Right.
And I see him coming up in other things. And
He's been around for a minute.
He was in a lot. He was in that Teen Wolf. He was in like 100 episodes of Teen Wolf.
Oh, maybe was that his start? Yeah. All I know, and I've never seen the Maze Runner movies as well, but like that's his trilogy. He's basically a Jennifer Lawrence of that movie.
You know what? For some reason, Maze Runner was always... I've never seen it, but I always...
You're rooting for it?
I always said in my head, if I'm going to get into one of these, it's going to be Maze Runner. It's not going to be Hunger Games. It won't be... What's the wolf movie?
Oh, Twilight.
It won't be Twilight.
I love that you went to wolf before vampire with that.
You know what I mean? And there's a couple others I want to say.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Well, we talked about that actually on our Hunger Games episode, where it's just like the young adult novel, that type of adaptation,
I just, for some reason, Maze Runner was always the one I had the softest spot for. Not because, again, I didn't see them, but if I was going to see them, I would give that one the best chance.
Fantastic. Great.
That's it. Anyway, and again, Sam Raimi movie in this month.
Yep.
With these two actors, let's go. I will go see Rachel McAdams is stranded on an island. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
What do we get?
Well, Send Help is a desert island survival flick, really pushed through that lens of horror dark comedy that Sam Raimi can only bring to the table. Thematically, a little bit backhanded compliment here. It feels like a popcorn version of 2022's Triangle of Sadness. Even down to very specific scenes and plot points, where the loss of civilized living upheaves the class structure, returning our characters back to the laws of nature in some degree. Again, me saying popcorn version, maybe Triangle of Sadness needed that a little bit. I really wasn't a huge fan of that movie, but really has that same type of theme or tone in its sight. A corporate accountant by day and survivor enthusiast by night. If there was a reason for you to watch, Rachel McAdams plays Linda Little, an underappreciated ugly duckling at her company that only wants what's rightfully coming to her. Her new asshole boss is played by Maze Runner star Dylan O'Brien, he's about as much of an asshole as you can get, douchebag laugh and all. After a business trip goes horrifically wrong, the two of them try to live out their worst nightmare of hypothetically being stranded on a desert island together, but this time not hypothetical. But a new way of life gives new meaning for life for Linda, and the executive skills of her partner accounting to jack shit as she's thrusted into a survival scenario, and not one she is too eager to leave. Right from the get-go, things are pretty campy, pretty cartoony, and in a way that I would say gives us a marker-thick outline for who these characters are.
Right.
Like, real thick, with two C's. It's a big outline. Despite being gorgeous, Rachel McAdams is intentionally grossed up in a very 90s kind of way. I mean, they were just short of giving her, big fake pimples on her face.
Right.
And Dylan O'Brien, equally feels like just a smoothie. I don't know why I keep on coming back to smoothie this week. But a smoothie of every finance bro trait blended together. He's kind of like a guy that watches Glenn Ross or Wolf of Wall Street and makes that their entire personality.
Right.
Now, that might not sound like good writing at all, but there is a method to this mediocrity, using these cliche character traits as shorthand to get to the twists this story has a bit faster. That's where I feel like, honestly, this crowd-pleasing aspect, not that it's a praise for the trailer for this, but that trailer doesn't give away the meat of what is maybe worth actually going out and seeing this
That's
movie.
what I was thinking, and that's why I was like, I'm down to go see the twist.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it was cool.
Yes.
Which maybe in itself, maybe we finally saw a good trailer,
Yeah, right. Yeah, but there's something there that was just like, I feel like finally it wasn't spelled out.
Absolutely.
Even in a cynical way. I feel like at the core of what makes bad trailers that say too much, so poor and so damaging to the film experience, is not that it necessarily spoils anything, but it looks down on the audience. It says, no, this is not enough. You need to know the whole story, and you're going to forget it by the time you watch the movie.
Terrible. Yeah.
It's a cynical outlook. I would say part of my issue, though, with the story is just how little everything evolved in that first quarter, or at least the areas it was setting up. The soundtrack, Danny Elfman, not really a fan. Not a fan of the soundtrack. Very, very like, what? Like, what are you talking about here? The tone. Like, kind of implied, like, no one else around, desert island romance. Like, all of that was not into that setup at all.
Okay.
But, folks, listen to me when I say, after the halfway mark, this goes pretty bananas. And I'm torn if it really sticks the landing or not. I don't know. This had such highs and such lows. I'm just like, I don't know if it worked at all. You know, it really wild swings at times in this movie. Times that like I couldn't take it seriously at all. Times that I thought like it was so dialed in on like a psychological horror element. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Really torn on it.
Okay.
So.
It's funny. I had a different experience.
Okay.
I didn't have many highs, but I didn't have many lows.
Oh, okay.
I was pretty consistent the entire time.
Right. You were just okay.
Well, yeah, because I will say right off the bat, I mean, over the top. And that's what I was saying with Quick and the Dead. These characters, I mean,
outlines.
At first I was like, man, Rachel McAdams is, I know she's a good actress. She's overacting here. This is too much. And then you get Dylan O'Brien on screen, and it's just like, oh, that's the point.
Yes.
These characters are so ridiculously over the top, stereotyped to the max, to the fullest. I don't know if I love that. I mean, I don't love that.
Sure,
to be honest about it. And I don't think we could have played it much more real and much more realistic, and I think it would have made the beach scenes even a little bit more better.
Sure,
because it would have been a little bit more realistic.
Yep.
But again, that's not the point of the movie. The point is to be over the top and in your face at times, and just go there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, so I don't know. My lows weren't that low, but it was fine. It's like okay, and then the highs that you're getting at, how crazy it gets. Yep. I don't know if I thought it was that crazy. I was kind of waiting for them, and I was like. All right. I also can't take you seriously.
Oh, okay.
So I look at this as popcorn film.
Yeah.
Yep. How seriously can I take a popcorn film? Which means how disappointed can I be with it?
Sure. Okay. And interesting.
Just my head watching it. That's where I was the entire time. That's where I'm still at.
I think where it's maybe not highs, but it's just like for how wild this gets. I guess I'm just kind of indecisive on if it sticks the landing with that, with those cliche elements.
I don't think the ending of the film matters. I really kind of think it's about the journey and enjoy it, and I just think, you know, the ending with this kind of not called a cherry on top, but just this little dollop of sour cream. Yes. I don't know. I can enjoy the taco. I don't need sour cream. It's fine. I'll take it, but it's not making or breaking the taco.
That's great. It's great. But
continuing our food analogies on the show.
We were talking about Taco Bell before we started recording too. I mean, it set me up for failure driving home. I will say these big bananas twists. I would say if you enjoyed our recent movie, The Housemaid, and how that was trying to leave your jaw on the floor in its late story developments, then this movie sits side by side for that reason. But without specifics, we'll have to put a pin in it for spoilers, of course. So
yeah.
But I feel like that's a good thing. I actually there was a thought that crossed my mind driving home from watching this. I was like, I kind of don't care enough about this movie that I almost would want to talk about spoilers. But I feel like if there's ever a reason to maybe roll the dice on something, whether it be Raimi style or, again, an interesting theater experience to watch with other people you don't know.
And other people are clearly enjoying it.
Yeah, and it's just it's wild in the ways that wants a reaction out of you. So I think that was enough to kind of get me off that track of talking about spoilers. Because again, I really don't I don't think the movie, even with the jaw dropping twist, is just like how much is this really worth it? Because again, I was just like, all right, this is I really just probably would not watch this movie.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm glad it exists. I don't know.
Yeah,
I walked away being like, okay, I guess. I didn't waste my money, I guess.
Right.
It doesn't mean I love the film.
Sure, right.
But we're cool.
Yeah, we're cool, Raimi. Let's talk about Raimi a little bit because I feel like a good chunk of the hype on this film was him returning to a rated R project in over 20 years, maybe over 25 years. And the last rated R project wasn't really even a horror. So let me say that there are a few moments here that it feels like he's pressured to live up to his own expectations, his own Raimi zaniness. But otherwise, I would say I was really happy with the style. You get the expected snap zooms here, but there are a few new type of like hyper close-up shots that are used for a decent amount of gross-out humor, or horror, depending on your stomach. Especially coming off of his last movie, though, there is just a refreshing return to Raimi's huge amount of gore. Specifically, a type of violence that hits you unexpected for a big crowd reaction. That's really... the second half of where it's like, it's not even really a spoiler to talk about it, but it's just like, you need to see it for yourself for the first time.
Yeah.
Visually, I did think this was pretty strong. And I think for a big fan of our directors, visually specifically, this might have the potential to sit side by side with Drag Me to Hell, a really fan favorite of his. And I would say it's really only because there is one scene that those two movies share that made my whole audience flinch and pull back, and it was like a big reaction. And again, I mean, I liked that. That was an enjoyable experience. So it's been a hell of a long time since I've had anything like that. Probably the Minecraft movie was the last time, just because you had these children singing with Jack Black. This really, really, really felt like something from the 90s, though, and I think that's where this crowd-pleasing element comes to mind, that it's trying to make it a hit with people. I also think that's what made it a solid theater watch, like we've been saying, because you get so many different visceral reactions from the audience. I just personally did not care for the movie that much. It's unbelievably pulpy at times, and I really mean unbelievably pulpy. I think you said it perfectly. It was just like, oh, I thought there was going to be like an ounce of realism. It was just like, no.
Yeah, and expect that.
Yeah.
So if you think that characters are go over the top and a little bit goofy,
yep,
it is the point. It is the Raiminess of it.
For sure. I think my score for this is exactly how M. Night Shyamalan's Trap was in this range, where in ways I feel like it could flip a whole 20-point jump and be the same takeaway from the movie. You know what I mean? It could swap like a whole 20 points to the other side and just be like, yeah, I mean, I still feel the same way about the movie. That's all because of where it sits in that camp, that pulp, and possibly even that spig, that so bad it's good kind of way. I think that's because these movies fluctuate between fun and trash, flipping back and forth multiple times as you watch them. And I'll tell you what, folks, 2026 so far might be just the year of big swings. I just can't make my mind up on if they land or not. We're going to give Send Help a 61.
Okay, a 61%. That's still, that's an all right movie.
Yep.
And I think I can understand how this is a popcorn film and going to do well. And I don't necessarily want to turn people away that when this comes onto streaming, and I don't think a 61 necessarily turns people away.
No.
I think you need to be into this type of thing, though. And get ready for the characters, get ready for the goofiness, and maybe just enjoy yourself.
Yeah. But I feel like, again, if you enjoyed The Housemaid, for whether, ironic watching or not.
That's a good marker.
Yeah, no, I feel like it has the same goals of just like, oh, you think you know the deal? No, you don't. You know what I mean?
But something that's okay. And apparently it worked for you.
Right.
For most, and I know it worked for the audiences.
Absolutely.
So, okay, 61% for Send Help. Not giving it two shoes. Any notes, Vin? Looking at these four films or anything? Any thoughts on the Raimi week?
Big swings. No. I mean, like I said, this is not. This doesn't help Raimi as just like his batting average on the website. It does not help him like from the bird's eye of like, is Raimi like? Do we think he's a good director? No.
Right.
But if the good news is that Send Help is not like a soulless thing. We covered Oz the Great and Powerful, for instance.
Definitely not so. Yeah. Okay.
That's like not a Raimi film. I think the good news here is that whether you are a diehard Raimi fan or you're trying to figure that out, Send Help is a new movie that is all of his style, and he's not being held back at all. And I think that's a win for the art of what he does.
And I think people like me who see a rated R horror film know that you're not walking into horror.
Yes.
And that's a big marker because I think there's a lot of people like me where they can watch Weapons and enjoy.
And
they can watch this and be like, not hate it because it's just a typical horror film. Because it's not that.
Absolutely.
Okay, 61% Vin. Any notes for next week? Anything? Roll credits? What do you want to do?
Well, next week we are going to do an anime episode. Scarlet is coming out. I don't know how it looks, honestly, but it's done by I would say, legendary director Mamoru Hosoda. He has had a long-running track record, and it's been a while since we've done like an anime director episode. Last one was a couple years back now with Makoto Shinkai, and it gets me away from watching, I don't know, whatever other trash is coming out first week of February.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, and let me say this. We have an anime next week, right? Anime week next week.
Yep.
Hosoda. I am saying this completely truthfully. Mm-hmm. I am looking forward to next week.
That's
and
great.
I'm going to try to watch... If I can't watch all of them, I want to watch as many as I can, and I mean that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So join us next Thursday, folks. Of course, we'll be back on Tuesday for the news show. Have Vin back here on the chair next Thursday, but I'll run these scores down one more time. So we've got Crimewave with a 25%, Darkman with a 31%, The Quick and the Dead, best film of the week with a 66%, and then Send Help with a 61%. Thanks so much, folks, for listening. It's always a blast, and we'll see you right back here next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out and tell a friend about us. And just a reminder that the Daily Ratings is completely producer supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? Then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.